Welcome again to the Babbleheads podcast with Bryson and Corey.
You can do better. Come on, you can do better. I've heard you do better.
Welcome to the Babbleheads podcast with Bryson and Corey.
It's pronounced Dumas. I'm standing sideways right now. This went bad. Welcome
to another fabulous episode of the Babbleheads podcast.
Tonight we're getting political, ladies and gentlemen.
What?
Political. For the gubernatorial race.
The New York State gubernatorial.
Larry Sharp for governor.
There's
So. No, I'm not going to touch you. You still have the plague.
I've got all the plague.
So, not too long ago, we went to a Larry Sharp rally.
You've seen this on Facebook. If you follow the Babbleheads podcast on Facebook, which you should. Facebook.com/the Babbleheads podcast.
Shameless plug.
It's not shameless. It's our own podcast.
So, I grew up in a lot of politicking.
Your mom works for who?
You had to ask me that question.
No, I don't. I'm not asking specifically. I'm asking.
She works for the New York State Assembly.
Yes, there you go.
For the assemblyman.
Right.
And I can never remember his name.
With a specific political affiliation.
Yes.
So you were raised within a specific political affiliation.
Yes.
I was not raised in such a stringent political affiliation, but it might as well have been because my dad is of the same ilk.
Yeah. So.
Probably more so.
But it's funny because you're kind of somewhat into politics, I would say. Probably more than I am in general.
I definitely don't listen to political podcasts every single day.
But I've been to a lot of political events, and this was your first political event.
Yeah, I guarantee you I am more informed on politics than you are, but I guarantee you've been to a lot more political events than me.
I guarantee you're 100% correct. I went and saw the president.
Old Mr. Cheeto himself. Mind you, that's an endearing term because I like Mr. Cheeto. Mm-hmm. I like Chester, too.
Side note, do you hear all these people are getting sick from eating fiery Cheetos?
Side note, did you hear that I have the plague?
You do.
And no, I have not heard about this. What is this?
Apparently people are being hospitalized for eating too many fiery Cheetos. I think it's like one of those internet memes, but...
Do you think it has anything to do with the fact that people are bitches? They can't handle the spice, so they gotta get out of the kitchen?
Probably. But anyway, back to politicking.
Let's get this boat on the road. Remember?
Yep.
Throwback.
Larry Freight for Harbor Sharp. So, we went to your first political rally.
Yep.
My, technically, rally, the second one. And I've always found them somewhat off-putting. Like a lot of church services.
Yeah.
Where it gets a little weird.
So can we talk about this? Like, we're naming names, right, at this point?
Yeah.
All right, so we went to a Larry Sharp event.
Yeah. Which I said it like 20 times already, but go on.
No, you said it like,
they're
over there for
No, I said we went to see Larry Sharp.
All right, so I totally...
And we shared a picture of us with Larry Sharp.
I don't listen to Corey. If you follow us on Facebook.com/Babbleheads podcast, then you know... that we went to a Larry Sharp rally. He's a cool dude. We both really like him. But I just got to say, I don't know the dude's name. I don't remember.
We're going to drop names, right? I don't know his name, but can we drop names?
You know what? I'm going to drop his name shamelessly. I'm going to go back in the edit and I'm going to put it in right now.
It's going to be
his name is, and he is a total whack job. I hope I allowed myself enough time.
No.
I hope his name,
no, try it again.
I hope his name's like Chad Davis and not like Shumida Comedy Oobity 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 Bobbity Boo. Because it could have been, because who knows with people like him.
Yeah, so what people might not know is Larry Sharp is running Libertarian. And a big platform for a lot of Libertarians is sadly the legalize it thing.
It makes... We've talked in great length about this. Because I still don't consider myself a member of the Libertarian Party. Where even though I align on a huge amount of issues with the Libertarian Party, I just cannot get myself behind the just straight 420 blazing agenda that's going on.
When an opening speaker for a rally,
first guy
walks up with a t-shirt.
You're talking about the guy that you send out to warm up the crowd.
Yeah.
He comes out with like a raggedy looking t-shirt, jeans, and a terrible ponytail.
Yeah.
Just a terrible ponytail. If you're listening, dude, fix your ponytail, bro.
Well, the problem is this. The Libertarian Party begs to be taken seriously.
Right, yeah.
If you can't have the pride to represent yourself in a good, clean fashion, don't be there.
And I agree with the idea, 95% agree with the idea of the legalization of marijuana.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that there's any real good reasons to not.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% for it. And I mean...
But the straight up dude bro that they trotted out from 1964 to be the opening speaker, his main plot stay in his entire speech was that CBD disintegrates tumors.
It cures all the illnesses
all
and
the
cancers.
Things. Do you have all the things? Don't worry. If you've got all the things, CBD.
Oil.
CBD it. If you can CBD it, you can see it. It can be obliterated.
Now, I agree. CBD can do a lot of good things for you.
It does. I'm sure it does. But it doesn't explode cancer.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. Stop it.
There goes our video. Good job checking that.
Oh boy.
The SD card is full.
Uh-oh. Yo soy problem. We might as well start over.
No, we're not starting over. What you're going to do, grab your cell phone and swap it out. You can merge the photos, the videos. Because I ain't stopping. This train ain't stopping, ladies and gentlemen. As Bryson moves over, it becomes the Corey show. While he figures this out.
This boat's on the road.
But anyway, so we can continue the conversation. You get to see a little bit of the behind-the-scenes action here at the Babblehead studio.
The boat's on the road, everybody.
So...
Here we go. Boat on the road.
Really?
This is going to be a special edition all of a sudden.
Yeah, special edition. So,
here we go. Boat's on the road.
The Libertarian Party... The problem is, especially in our area, chooses some very poor representation.
Oh, look at the mess.
Now, a guy who was the MC, if you would, for the event.
Bald caps.
If you would, for the event, wore a plaid jacket. And he looked like a clown. And that was what he was going for. And the sad thing is that if you can't take yourself or what you're doing seriously, how can you expect anyone else to? And now he's getting all of his plague all over that stuff. He doesn't know that...
The boat's on the road!
The thingy that we used to use to hook that up to is not in there.
Where is it then?
I have it at work.
Oh, that's a problem.
Just lean it up against something. Lean it up against the pumpkin.
This ain't gonna work, mate.
It's gonna work.
This is a terrible thing that we've done.
It's okay.
All right, hold on. I'm going to stop this one. And then, here we go. We're going in. Landscape mode.
Oh my god, you're not gonna... This is not gonna work.
This is going to end really well. I can tell already.
Oh my gosh.
Boat on the road.
He is... Well, for those who can't see or hear... That we got to keep this rolling. He is trying to somehow fasten the cell phone to the back of the GoPro.
Give him a duct tape.
He's holding it there like it's going to help. He is now entering the garage. The door is open. It is freezing out.
We're gonna get some duct tape.
You are not duct taping that to my GoPro. He is now in the garage, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to slur that word for no particular reason. You did a really shitty trim job over there. What are you doing? You are not taping that.
You said I couldn't duct tape it.
You are not taping that. You're going to drop my GoPro. I'm going to kill you.
It's a GoPro. If I can't take one little bit of dropping,
I'm going to kill you.
GoPro, you live here now.
Why don't you just leave that open and rest it in it? Hey, look at that.
Too easy. This is too easy. Is it bad that this almost looks better than the GoPro?
I'm sure that display is 1,000,000 times better than the display on the GoPro.
That's
but
true.
I guarantee the camera isn't.
I don't know about that. I just don't know about that, though, mate.
All right. So now he returns back to politicking.
This boat's on the road, though.
Yeah. So the other thing
That's
that
a
really,
special edition.
really pissed me off was those people who came super early to the rally and sat up front with 3 kids, like children, like less than 10.
Yes.
That's not a thing you do, especially when you bring them with toys that make noise.
Yep.
So that was a pretty shitty thing to do. Not to mention that they took up a table at the front of the rally for them. Now, there was about 100 people, I would say.
And when he says the front of the rally, the front.
Like, Larry Sharp was breathing on them. And then he interrupted him mid-speech.
Yep.
I literally, at one point, I said, and I'm pretty tolerant of kids. I like kids. Not at an event where they can't vote.
It's a voter event.
Yeah. The one kid was yelling or saying something, and I go, someone's got to shut that kid up. Because I couldn't hear. I'm here to listen to Larry Sharp talk.
Not your kid.
Yeah. So, it's great to get them involved in politics early. Like the kids that made the signs and all that stuff. That's great.
The moment when that little girl was jumping up and down on the Larry Sharp sign.
That was pretty priceless.
That was pretty great.
He's like mid-speech. He just goes, kids jumping up and down on signs.
Yeah, he said, I'm used to... I don't prepare for these speeches. I'm used to going off the cuff. It doesn't bother me at all. I'd rather do it like this. I'd rather have a discussion with people. I'd rather see a little girl jumping up and down on my sign. It doesn't matter. I like this kind of stuff. Yeah,
jumping up and
she
down.
was an inch from him. Yeah. And she's like, don't, jumping up and down.
So that's when the mother's like, oh, this is probably
maybe,
not
now that she's a foot from him, jumping up and down on the sign, maybe I should
and then
rein
that's
her in
the
a
thing
little bit.
is, I feel they need to take it more seriously because it just wasn't. It was like a circus act.
Yeah.
For that stuff. And they had how many speakers? Like 6, 7?
It was too many.
I will admit, at one point, I'm like, maybe I don't want to vote for Larry Sharp.
Yep. The first 2 or 3 speakers in, I was like, you know what? I'm not so sure about this.
Yep. And then Larry, the man himself, got up, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I'm voting for him. Yep. He's not like any of those other idiots.
Andrew Hollister was pretty good too.
Yes. Hollister was really good. The guy who was in the military before, they had 2...
The last 3 speakers.
Yeah, they had the one guy that... I forgot what he was talking about. But it was a pretty...
Must have been really memorable.
No, he was a good speaker. There was like 3 or 4 horrible ones. Mm. And then the MC or whatever.
The dude who was the MC.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Every time he got up, people groaned.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's a case of...
It was the opposite of how the Libertarian Party gets taken seriously.
So
he had a carnival jacket on, for God's sake.
Yeah. So here's the other problem. He's like the director of the Libertarian Party for like...
The district out by Rochester.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm seriously thinking about,
dude,
like,
if you and
Libertarian gets on the ticket...
This, if you and I were to get involved in the Libertarian Party, we'd be like the king. Dude, if that's the director...
I'm telling you, we could do it. I'm seriously considering getting involved with it. If this election causes Libertarian to be on the ticket, meaning we'd have a chance to actually have real stuff happen, I might forgo the ability to vote in primaries just to kind of get some real action behind the Libertarian stuff. Because they need some real, like...
people?
Yeah.
Not clowns?
Yeah.
Well, then you're the wrong guy for the job, and so am I.
Maybe, but we gotta be an improvement. But, the other thing is that we're a lot of passionate people. And I mean, that's the thing, is like, you see a lot of very passionate people behind Larry Sharp. Mm-hmm. You don't really see that for Cuomo or for Molinaro.
Well, can you imagine why? I can't imagine why.
Dude, Cuomo is crushing it in the polls. And you want to know why? No one knows who Mark Molinaro is, and they won't vote Republican anyway. That's, today at work somebody actually said, why isn't he made more of like a presence? Like, why hasn't he done anything? And I'm like, who? And they're like, Larry Sharpe. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, he hasn't been in the debate. And I'm like, they wouldn't let him.
Yeah.
They literally will not let any of the third parties speak. And you know why? Most people that die hard, Cuomo, or Molinaro.
I mean,
Molinaro.
Larry got on probably one of the best possible things for him, which was the Joe Rogan podcast. Yeah. The problem is, it was so long ago now that people have forgotten.
Well, the thing is, too, is that...
And Joe was...
People forget that debates, all those things are held not by, like... They're not beholden to anyone but themselves.
Yeah. It's to make
and it's so rigged that they will not let the third option come in because they would rather lose. A Republican would rather lose to a Democrat
than let a Libertarian in.
Yeah. Or anything. Green Party, anything. And that's the thing is, like, I want everybody that even... Like, I posted
Which is ironic because in New York, we're one of the few states where you can run on multiple tickets.
Yeah. I want...
So every Republican ever runs in New York on the Republican ticket and the conservative ticket and the whatever families party or whatever.
But that's all of a ruse anyway, which is ridiculous anyway. But I want everybody listening to this podcast, and I shared it on my Facebook, and I really said, I want you to consider that this is why this is happening and think about it for real. These parties have no interest in letting you have options. They want to be like, this is it. Right here. This is what you're going to do.
A or B.
That's it. They don't care that legally, like, by the book, everything. There is other options.
It's like that classic moment in the TV show where they look at you and they go, exile or death. Yep. Choose.
Yep. And it's sad. And that's the thing. When you listen to Larry honestly speak.
Yeah. He's a good dude. And he makes sense.
He's the reason I'm so fired up about politics. I hate politics as it is. And that's the problem. I mean...
I think a lot of people in our generation either hate politics or they believe every single thing that's spoon-fed to them.
Yeah, on both sides.
Yeah.
Not just Democrat or... It's Republicans, too.
You listen to Fox News and... You get the same thing you do on CNN, just from the opposite direction.
Yeah, and it's like, did you watch the debate yet?
I refuse to. I just don't want to. You told me that it was two 4-year-olds slapping each other with a fish.
Yes.
I don't care to watch it.
Yeah, no, that's literally what it was. It was, we'll simulate the debate, and I'm sure you can kind of roll with it.
Let's do it.
You play Cuomo, because I'm not playing Cuomo.
No! My soul's going to explode on itself.
Cuomo... during your term, we found that 30% extra spending while increasing taxes by 22%. What do you have to say about that?
I find that in my term that was good.
Okay.
And you suck.
Yeah. Well, sir, that's fake news. I don't know where you heard that from.
I'm a proven governor. You do.
Sir, the last 7 years have been the worst for New York State.
Best. Fake news.
There we go. That's the buzzword. And then Molinaro would be like, "Sir, you're an idiot." Like, basically, they're just
Sir, excuse me, but you're an idiot.
That's false.
Excuse me, but fake news, idiot.
It was just like
were they this close to dropping the R word that you did in the last episode? How dare you?
They were spouting out numbers. And the problem is that I think it's really people just don't know how to debate anymore.
Right. They don't know how to get the boat on the road.
Exactly. And people don't know what debating is.
How to get the boat on the road.
Yeah, and people don't know what debating is.
And the problem is that Larry Sharpe is a great candidate, but he doesn't even have a boat barely to get on the road. He's been sitting there trying to construct a Noah's Ark, trying to get away from the flood. And
as he likes to say, I'm going to punch a hole through the system and you got to follow me. And that's true. But I just don't think he's going to reach enough people in time. It's sad to say, I think regardless of what happens, his run is going to change things.
I hope that it's historic in number, at least.
Yeah. But I just don't... I'm worried that it's... I could be wrong. It could be an absolute shock.
I mean, either we thought that him being on Joe Rogan was just no big deal, or we thought it was amazing because we listened to Joe Rogan. Yeah. Maybe we're like one of Joe's 6 listeners, and the whole fact of him having millions of listeners is actually just a ruse. Either that, or he has 6 million listeners a month, or whatever. It's way more than that. If he has 6 million listeners a month and 5,999,998 are from California, and we're the only 2 who listen in New York.
Yeah. I think it's a sad state of affairs.
But if you haven't listened to that, for real, head over to Joe Rogan Experience and listen to Larry Sharpe talk, because that's about the closest you're going to get to hearing him speak.
Even though Joe Rogan that day was a little...
He was very combative.
I think it was because he was on tour, and he was just doing so much that he was just tired.
He gets that way sometimes, man. He gets that way sometimes.
Yeah.
He gets his little man period going once in a while, you know?
Everybody does. Well, his schedule is nuts, so I can't blame him. But the big thing, too, about Larry is he opened up a speech about talking about how he wants people to see that he's not perfect. Much like our podcast, especially this episode.
What are you talking about? That was 100% planned, and we totally meant for everyone to get a very shaky, terrible tour of the generic office.
So, he's not perfect. He doesn't want people to expect perfection because he's human. And he will actually talk about the issues. Like, when's the last time he asked a politician about a hot topic issue? Like, what's your stance on gun control? And it's kind of like, it's always, well, I'm a Democrat, so I don't like guns. Or I'm a Republican, so I gotta support guns.
Yeah.
And what was sad to me is you met my friend Chris.
Yeah.
And he literally could not tell anyone he worked with that he went to a libertarian rally for fears how it would impact his job and his future.
Yeah, because he works for a primarily liberal organization.
Yeah.
And even though libertarianism is not inherently opposed to liberalism by any... I mean, realistically, libertarianism is as close to classical liberalism as there exists in our current affairs. But liberal today does not mean the same thing as liberal did 100 years ago. Liberal today means progressive, and in this particular case, a lot of liberals today, people who call themselves liberals, are actually a little bit on the extreme left. Not all, obviously. And I think some people refer to themselves as terms that they don't understand.
Yeah.
The same ticket, like, I'm liberal. Oh, okay, well, that's good. I mean, where do you land on gun rights? Well, I think people should be able to have guns to hunt. Well, then you're not. You don't align. You do not align with the current liberal theses of today.
I think it all comes back to debates, right? And I think so. Here's a question for you: in classical, true, the meaning of words debate, is there a winner in a debate?
No,
and that's what we've lost.
There's only a winner and a loser in podcasts, and I'm always the winner.
Yes, because I'm here.
Right, you're a loser
because I'm here. No, you win because you get to see me.
Oh, you're like Trump and you just bring all the winning?
Yes. So in classical, I'm talking way back in the classical thinkers and
here's the deal. The founders of this country were liberals. But in the classical sense of the word, they believed in the root of the word liberal, which is liberty.
Yeah. So in a debate, you're supposed to discuss an idea with opposing views and accept that neither of you has the 100% answer, and eventually, you'll come to a solution.
Right, and the idea, well, not even that. I honestly don't think that that a debate so much is to come to a solution as it is to influence the hearts and minds of the people who might be listening to the debate.
Exactly.
So chances are you're never going to change the mind of the person you're debating, because if you're debating someone, it's because they believe as strongly about what they believe as you believe about what you believe. So the chances of you convincing them that your point is right and their point is wrong is probably about as easy as convincing a 70-year priest that God is a...
Is that your phone?
No, I think that was your GoPro again turning off. It's like convincing a 70-year priest that God is just actually a floating tentacle monster that lives above a cloud just above the continent of Australia on the flat Earth.
So,
you know what I'm saying? So basically, the idea is two people of very strong opposing viewpoints can debate in front of a large amount of people, and those people get to hear, hopefully, facts on both sides that are debated in a very articulate, opinionated way, and then they are the people who are going to make the difference, because the two people who are talking only have 2 votes. Yeah. But if you talk in front of a crowd of 500 people, and coming into it, 300 agree to one side and 200 agree to the other, but by the end of it, the person who was on the minority side made a very convincing argument, and everyone really thought that that was a great idea. Now it's 400 to 100 in the opposite direction. That's the idea behind debates.
Socrates. That's what I was thinking of.
Socrates?
So, back in the day...
He invented soccer.
Yeah. Debate was how things were discussed and learned and expanded upon.
Yeah.
Like, that's how things happened.
Yeah. And that's 2 different forms of debate. So you're talking now, we're going to scratch what we think of as debate, which is in front of a crowd in a very strict format with time limits and stuff like that. That's a debate. You're talking about...
I'm dying. Go on. I'm sorry.
Go on without me.
Oh.
So... What you're talking about is actual debate.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's...
you and I sitting down behind this microphone talking to each other so other people can listen, but it's not really convincing anyone. Let's be honest, we are not convincing anyone. We're like, yeah, Larry Sharp's great. And they're like, you're a bunch of blowjobs. That's what's happening right now.
So, I think what we need... The problem is, too, is like, debates used to happen in places of education and higher learning.
Yeah, but there's... Yes.
And that doesn't happen now.
No, because now places of higher education and learning have slowly but surely completely leaned to one direction.
Yeah, which... It's weird. Why do you think that is?
It's so hard to think exactly why. But my theory is that higher learning lends itself to more philanthropic and maybe more socio-focused, like sociologically focused studies, which maybe make you a little bit more empathetic towards people's feelings and the state of the world and things like that, and you tend to look at things through more of a human rights lens, and then that gets distorted to the point where you think that, you know, there's 1,000 genders.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a very blunt reason, because I
beat around the bush?
No, like, probably something you don't want to say. I think the people that originally went to school were more privileged and weren't around things.
But then why are they trying to tell people about their privilege?
So you have these people who live in a bubble that don't see the bad things. You know, they probably they never fired a gun there in their life.
Yeah, they never venture outside of academia.
So they're scared of it. And this all happened years ago. It's not a recent thing. All these establishments were put in place and all these things.
RIP.
Yeah. And then the people that generally consider themselves Republican, I think, come from like the working class background.
See, that's the weird thing. That's the weirdest thing. Is 25 years ago, the Republicans were the party of the wealthy.
The really wealthy.
Yeah, like they were the party of donors, right? They were the people who were backed by the billionaires. But somehow along the way, and the Democrats were the party of the working man. They were the blue-collar party. Somewhere along the way, something flip-flopped. Now, the Democrats are the party of the white-collar people, as far as I can tell. And the Republicans are the party of both, for some reason. I can't say both. So, Democrats became the party of the... how do I put this without sounding completely... I'm just going to sound like an asshole. Like the uneducated working class and the super ultra wealthy. Like there's Republican wealthy, and then there's super ultra ridiculous mega wealthy. Like Jeff Bezos wealthy.
Yeah.
And those guys are all left-leaning.
So,
but something flipped somewhere.
You're talking about blue-collar workers and stuff, and it's funny because you know about unions. Mm-hmm. Unions are thanks to communism.
Yeah.
And people are like, yeah, unions are great. And it's like, I don't think unions are so great. Might get some flack for that.
I'm not a big fan of unions either. My wife's going to school to be a teacher right now.
Yeah. So and some unions might be better than others, but I grew up with my father who was in an electrical workers union. And when your job was done, you went back on the list, at the bottom of the list. And it didn't matter who was the next in line or how skilled they were or what. That was the person that went to the next job. Mm-hmm. So it didn't matter that people wanted my dad to work for them. It was like...
I couldn't do it.
No, he's not next on the list. You can't have him. You have to take Bryson. But Bryson is brand new and does not have the skills for that. Doesn't matter. You gotta take Bryson. You know, you can have another electrician join you. You know, just double the salary, and then you can have two guys. But I just want him. He can do the job. No, you can't do that. And that's the problem with unions.
My my dad's company that he worked for had that issue, where the union just kept asking for more and more and more money. Guess what? That company's gone.
Yep. Unions were great at the time because there was a lot of unfair stuff that went on.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Post-industrial revolution, there was definitely some reform that needed to take place because there was some exploitation going on.
Yeah, and I mean, there might be some that are...
Don't get me wrong. I am not some kind of crazy far right-wing, lunatic person. I definitely think that there's a time and a place for everything, and
that place
is college. No,
and unions.
But for real, there are times in history where change was necessary. Yep. But sometimes I think that the progressive movement that we live with today is changing things just for the sake of changing things. Yeah. Like, this is going to make people so mad.
Go for it.
There are only two genders.
Oh, here we go. Yes. Mm-hmm. Now,
you can bang your mailbox for all I care. I don't care. You can do whatever you want, but it's unfortunate and it sucks. But it's the world that we live in. Yeah. There is male and there is female, and it just is. It's as far as the people who are afflicted by whatever these mental disorders or whatever you want to call it. I feel for them. Like, that sucks. Mm-hmm. And it must be horrible to feel like you're in the wrong body or whatever. But unfortunately, the law of nature and the way we are is just that if you were born a dude, you're a dude.
Yeah.
You might be a dude who's very effeminate and wishes he was a chick 100% of the time. I wish that was possible for us to make happen for you. But at this point in time, if you're born a dude, you're going to be a dude. It's just it's an X and a Y chromosome. It's as simple as that. It's about as simple as science gets. It's true or false.
Yep.
I do, however, think that, you can do whatever the hell you want. Oh, if you want, like I said, if you want to bang a light socket and get shocked every time, do you, man. Do you.
Yeah.
If you're earth sexual and you want to go out in my backyard, and maybe not my backyard, but somebody's backyard, and dig a little dick-sized hole and bang it, be my guest. I mean, not my guest. Be someone's guest.
We've gotten really explicit these last two episodes. Just saying. But You're right. I think...
Can't help it. We're being ourselves.
The thing is that with things like unions, I think part of the trades, part of the reason that some of them are looked down upon is that they've passed this idea that anybody can do it. And it's like, true electricians, when they're good at it, that's a skill. There's some people, and then being driven to work hard and get things done thoroughly and in a quick way, that's also a skill.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things.
There's ways that people can market themselves in a trade, and you eliminate all that just by having a list.
Generally. Not always. people who want to call me a far right-wing conservative nut job, the free market is almost always the best solution. There are exceptions, but it is almost always.
There is no perfect solution for anything.
No, capitalism is not the perfect solution. But I hate to break this to you guys, but socialism isn't either. And I would argue that socialism is a worse solution. Because it has been tried in numerous ways. Not been tried properly. It's been tried.
So is capitalism hasn't been tried properly anywhere.
Well, I'd be a little nervous about true capitalism. I think capitalism does have points in which it needs to be limited. Because once you get to a certain point, capitalism does allow exploitation. Which is where labor laws and stuff come in. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I don't think that capitalism should be completely unrestricted in a 100% free economy. I think that...
Monopolies.
I think that the economy should be free to a point. You know, there's always a point where you gotta go, wait, hold up, pump the brakes. You literally now own all of the means of production of a car. So you now are charging $200,000 for a car that would have cost $20,000 10 years ago. There's a problem. And that is something that could happen in capitalism. So if you own the 100% means of production and distribution, you can control the price.
And I think...
competition is what makes the free market great.
Yeah.
If there is no competition. So I guess that's where I probably draw the line right there. So a free market, 100% to the point where there is competition. If you're in a market and there is no competition, it is no longer a free market. It is actually a dictatorship market by the company who owns that.
The big problem is greed and the fact that people are assholes.
Yeah.
You'll find that most people that get rich, even if later in life they seem more charitable and stuff, they're not really that great of people.
You're trying to say that Bill Gates isn't a nice guy? He's given away like 2/3 of his wealth at this point.
So?
Probably making up for something. He probably had a bunch of people murdered.
I would go.
No, I'm just kidding. Jeez. Calm down.
I think because that's the good guy. There's a reason why the good guy always finishes last. The self-sacrificing stuff, that shrewd business people don't do that. I said it all the time at the place we worked before. If a shrewd businessman was in there, it would have been sold and chopped up for parts a long time ago.
You mean like right now, when it's being sold and chopped up for parts?
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's at probably a loss.
Yeah, but I guarantee you the dude who owns all that stuff is still shrewd enough to know that he's going to come out of that as a net plus because he's going to use it as a tax write-off.
Yeah.
Oh, did I tell you about the fact that I know I'm not going to get paid for that last week of work?
Wow.
100% found out from New York State. We are not getting paid.
How is that legal?
It isn't. But they can't do anything about it because he's not from New York State. The guy who owes us money lives in Michigan. And the New York State Department of Labor has no jurisdiction in Michigan. So that he won't return their phone calls or emails. They can't do anything. So, to all those out there, I got shafted for an entire week of work. Which, for a family like mine, is significant.
Yeah. That's shitty.
Sounds like you're eating like 1,000 death ants.
Yeah, so the ice, I don't know if it's because it was the cube and slowly like melted, but it was like chewy on the inside.
That's because I filled it with plague germs.
Probably. But back to politicking.
Oh, here we go again. You're going to get me started, aren't you? You're going to get me fired up.
I think the reason it's all being a good person has flown so far out the window.
You're right.
That like politics now is a popularity contest. Rarely does it have anything to do with trying to help people. They say they do, but why do most people get in politics? Maybe at first they're like, maybe I can help somebody out. Those people
I bet you
don't last
95% of the people who get into politics are not that person.
No.
They're the person who's after fame and glory and status.
Yep.
There's got to be somewhere. We've agreed too much. There has to be somewhere where we disagree on politics.
Politics.
Where do we disagree? We found so much common ground that it would fill this whole table. Let's find somewhere where we don't get along.
It's going to be hard.
There's something.
President. Do you think there should be a president?
Yes.
I don't. I would like to go back to an actual republic, please. Thank you.
So I believe that in order to assert dominance on the world stage, you need someone as a figurehead.
I don't think so.
Because mob rule doesn't really work.
I don't think so. I think
Prove me wrong.
I think that the
Tell
United
me how
States,
we can be represented on a world stage.
Each state should have a representative. And then, maybe they vote.
So we're going to send 50 people to the UN?
No, maybe we would have a UN representative. That you send. You can't tell me that every leader goes to the UN.
No, but the UN ambassador reports directly to the President of the United States.
Yeah, they would just report directly to the 50 people.
So, let me put it this way. I think there should be a president, but so much more limited in scope than the current one. And the reason is, this is my specific reason for the president, is someone needs to head the armed forces. Okay?
That's why.
And I would rather have someone who's elected rather than someone who's appointed.
See,
so a general is appointed. They're not elected. I would rather have somebody who's brought into office by the people, because an appointed official, we have no say in. They're a completely 100% unculpable bureaucrat.
I'd like to see that every state has its own military, has its own police force, has all their own stuff.
So I couldn't disagree more, because if every state had their own military, we would constantly be warring with each other. No. We would not be a unified front. Yes, we would. No. We totally would. Texas would be fighting California right now. No. Guaranteed.
No, we would. It would be... You're responsible for doing that.
The reason why we were a federalist state in the first place was for the military. That was the only reason why the federal government existed in the first place.
We would still work together. I'm not saying like...
The federal government had the power to bring all of the state militias together under one united army. That was the whole idea.
Yeah, but I think we need to go back to more of that.
Well, I don't disagree with that, but you still need a president to head that united army.
No, you don't.
You do.
You have a general elected by...
then
you have 50 generals that select one general.
That's a president.
No, it's not.
It is. We have a president who's selected by the Electoral College, which is selected by the states. It's the same thing, but you're calling it something different. No. All it is that the office of the president has become far too overreaching. That's what it is. The office of the president shouldn't be able to do any of this stupid legislation crap. They shouldn't be able to do all this other stuff that they're pushing through. The president should head the military, be in charge of security of the nation, and at the very most, they should do the same thing a governor does, where when the Congress signs a bill and presents it to them, they have the ability to say, I don't think this represents the will of the people, rethink it.
I agree.
It's the same thing as if you had a general who oversaw all 50 states. That's what he's supposed to be.
Yeah, but I also think that...
I agree that the president is not what it's supposed to be.
No,
but I do think that we need a president.
No.
Have I convinced you at all?
No.
Oh.
Because I still don't... I don't see the need... Maybe it's just because I'm so embroiled in the classical president thing that, like, labeling it president against feels wrong. Like, we need a leader. But, no, we don't need a leader as the president. We need somebody that's a defender.
We need a figurehead who stands on the world stage representing the United States of America as a unified front. And someone who has the authority to command the military. So you need a general. You need a general who's in charge of all the generals, called the president.
Head lead general.
He's supposed to be the head of the executive branch, which is the branch that controls the military. That's it.
Yeah. And then each state has their own military.
Yeah, but we kind of do. Every state does kind of have its own military.
Yeah, but then also we don't need to do
police.
Like I'm good with federal taxes. but
I'm not.
Make them really small.
I'm not going with federal taxes at all. The federal taxes should come directly from the states.
No, that's what I mean. Like it's
the
literally
states should
like
tax us.
It's yes, and then the state's like, all right, here's
your small portion, federal government.
And then if Texas is like,
dude, the federal income tax was introduced in the 1900s. It's a very new thing. People treat it like it's this thing that's been around forever. Social Security has only been around for less than 100 years.
Yeah. And then if Texas goes, listen, I want out of this agreement, go for it.
Yeah, but you lose X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. I think people forget how awesome it is to be part of America till you're not part of America anymore. And this is what kills me. We could possibly re-elect a governor who said that America was never really that great.
And we could also re-elect a governor who told us that we have no place in New York State.
Yep. And who's delusional and thinks people are leaving New York State for the weather. I told you that I called somebody in North Carolina for work. They go, oh, I loved it up in New York. You know what? I was born in Texas, moved up to New York for a few years, came down here.
It's a beautiful place to live.
Couldn't afford to live up there, but man, I'll always consider New York home. That's somebody who grew up in Texas.
Which is probably one of the few places that I would consider living in.
Yeah. Moved to New York. Had to leave because he couldn't afford to raise his family there. But wishes he could go back and considers it home. But people are leaving because of the weather.
Cuomo, when you listen to this.
Yeah. F you.
Just do better. Just do better. Just try. Try harder.
He has, pretty much, this is what kills me. The entire country views his governorship as one of the, if not the most corrupt political thing. People in California are talking about how corrupt his governorship is.
People in California, of all places.
Who care. They are wow, that guy's pretty corrupt.
Wow, that guy's literally like the modern day mob.
He has no problem. How could you even show your face? And it's because
what's really
he's
annoying?
A sociopath.
So have you noticed that towards the end of this gubernatorial race, that he slowly started pushing for legalization of marijuana? He's just slowly been nudging it. He said 2 years ago, he's like, no. So he was in staunch opposition to it. 2 years ago. And then a year ago or so, they introduced that medical marijuana bill, and he was like, okay, all right. And now that there's people challenging him who are like, yeah, marijuana should be legal, he's like, yeah, maybe, you know what? Maybe it should be legal, guys.
That doesn't bother me. Here's why.
What's going to be annoying is once he crosses the finish line, and he's like, ha, just kidding.
Yeah. Well, where he just doesn't care. That's the thing, and I think most people that get into that kind of position, they don't care. They really don't. They've got, well, what is it? There was a study that showed that people that are that kind of successful, that level of successful, they are sociopaths or something like that. There was a book about it. That people,
he's definitely some kind of path.
I think anybody that's willing to can you let's consider something like the position like a governor for a second. You're I'm going to step up and I'm going to be in charge of millions of people. That's my job. I know what's best for millions of people. That takes a weird kind of human.
What about the president? I know what's best for 320 million people.
I mean, I was just keeping it on a smaller scale. But but
originally the office of the president was not supposed to be that. It was not supposed to be, I know what's best for anything.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be, I'm going to enact the will of the people on behalf of the people.
And now it's, I don't know.
And Congress used to be a badass. Back in the day, Congress used to be a badass. Now, Congress is like, yeah, we might think about running a bill about this, and maybe if we could get another couple of votes, we might be able to do it. But you're going to have to give us some more money.
You know what? We're going to just wait till the government shuts down because we're okay. But we'll put all these people out of work and literally shut the government down.
Good friend of mine almost lost his house because of that. The one really big one, like 4 years ago, that was like 6 months long, government furlough. He is, up until very recently, he was a officer in the Air Force. And he had been enlisted since he was 18 years old. And he's in his 30s. And he depends on that stuff for his job. And what he does is considered essential personnel. So he basically monitored the airspace of part of the United States via satellite or radar or whatever else. And his job was to keep alert and make sure that if anything entered airspace above X place, his job was to make sure that that thing either was identified as friendly or was gone. Right? That was his job. And he was considered essential personnel, so he was forced to go to work for 6 months with no pay because of the government shutdown. And his bank put him into foreclosure. And now he owes almost 40% more than the house is worth because of lawyer fees and foreclosure issues. So he bought a house for like $130,000, and now that was like 6 or 7 years before this, and now he owes like $190,000 on that house because of all the fees and everything. He had to spend tens of thousands of dollars on lawyers just to keep the house in the first place, not even to like get things straight.
But government's working, folks, just as it is.
That's a pretty sad story, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, good news is he's still living there. And still,
I don't know, man. Working. I would have went with the foreclosure. Just be like, fine, foreclose it.
At the time, he had 2 kids, young kids.
Foreclosure is really not
He didn't have any money to go and get an apartment even, dude. What was he going to do?
Yeah.
He had to stay where he was. He had no choice. He had no money in the bank. He was living paycheck to paycheck to begin with. And then government's like, you know what, you got to come to work. So he couldn't even go out and find a side job to make ends meet in the meantime. He had to report for $0 for 6 months. And even at the end of it, when they paid him his back wages, it was too late.
Yeah, and that happened under a president that everybody right now will tell you.
Bama.
Will tell you he's great. He was so great.
Let's make the president great again, guys.
So that is a stupid frickin' tagline. But make America great again. That's a stupid tagline. It really is. There's so many holes, and I think it's intentional. I think it's intentional to make like that controversy.
Did you see his campaign slogan for 2020?
No.
Did I say slogo? I meant slogan.
You've had a little bit too much to drink.
Well, this is our second podcast. Untold things have happened tonight.
You even changed shirts.
I did, but you didn't.
Nope. I'll just unbutton it.
There you go. It's a different day now. It's Keep America Great. So he's going in now, mind you. I'll say this. I don't even care. I did vote for Donald Trump. I don't regret it either, because as far as policy-wise, I have very much agreed with everything he's done. I definitely don't agree with everything he says, because I think he talks before he thinks a lot of times.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
But the people behind him making policy, I can get behind a lot of the stuff they've been doing. Now, on that same note, I think that is the dumbest shit I've ever heard, because that means that he believes that his idea was to make America great again, which, if you believed in that slogan, which I'm not saying I did or didn't, I really didn't. I guess I just said. But either way, if you truly believe that you wanted to make America great again, you're not going to make America great again in 2.5 years.
Yeah, and so here's the thing. I do find it quite funny. There's somebody I know who's staunchly against him. And I go,
do I know who you're talking about? I know you're talking
No, you don't.
No?
Tell me what he's done that's so bad. Yeah. Well, I don't know any of his policies or thing he's done, but he just talks and sounds like an idiot and makes us look like an idiot. And I'm like, oh, I agree. Like, he has made us look like an idiot on the world stage.
I don't know if I even agree with that.
Some of the stuff he said.
Yeah, but the policy, again, that he's enacted.
But the policy is better.
Our international policy has actually been pretty much on point. I love the fact that he just is like, listen, this is what the people of America want.
If we took away his Twitter, God, there'd be no
Reagan 2.0.
But I think that's the problem. We can't have a Republican president that doesn't have controversy. I think that's kind of par for the course.
Have you ever wondered what would have happened with Bush if 9/11 never happened?
I don't know.
I think about things like this all the time. Like, what would have happened with Bill Clinton? Or what would have happened to the election between Gore and Bush if Bill Clinton never had sex with Monica Lewinsky? Or never...
I don't follow it that close.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, how would that have changed things?
Did you hear Hillary's running next year?
No. When was that announced?
She said she would like to be president.
Oh, dear God.
If they put Hillary Clinton up again...
She's going to be riding her hover round up to the podium.
Yeah, that is like the dumbest move.
You know what, though? I hope they do.
Yeah. It's literally like... That's when... if they put Hillary Clinton up as like the Democratic nominee... the people that are Democrat have to take that as a sign that, oh yeah, so they really don't care what we think.
So at the end of the day, if Hillary ends up being the presidential candidate for the Democratic Party again, it's over for the Dems.
They gotta realize
it's just over.
They need to open their eyes and realize that the Democratic Party, just like the Republican Party, has zero fucks to give about what the people that are allied with their party think. Unless you're like a huge campaign contributor.
It all just makes me a little bit sick to my stomach. It all makes me a little bit sick to my stomach. I believe what I believe because of my life experiences. And I know that that's the same way everybody else is. Yeah. But
sadly, the people
the politicking.
Up on high.
The politicking that happens at that level makes me sick to my stomach.
Yep.
Because it has absolutely nothing to do with what you or I think. Has nothing to do with the freedoms of the citizens of the country. It has nothing to do with any of our rights. It has nothing to do with anything other than lining the pockets of the people who care about it.
Yep. Why do you think big money contributes so much money? Because it's an investment. And
that's one of those issues that you just kind of mentioned inadvertently that I'm so torn on. And I'm not afraid to admit when I don't know where I stand. And campaign finance laws is one of those gray areas that I do not know where I stand. Like, I think that people should be allowed to give gifts freely to people if they believe that they want to. But at the same time, a billionaire giving, $100 million to a campaign is like a little bit on the side of,
If I was to come tomorrow with a check for the exact amount of money you owe on this house, would you not feel motivated
to do whatever
I asked?
Yeah. Yeah, if you told me to jump naked through a ring of fire on a moped that was 2 feet tall off of a jump that might land me into a shark pit, I'd probably still do it.
Yeah. And that's what you got. That's politics. A company or a representative of a company comes forward and goes, we really think you can help us out. We really like what you stand for. Here's $100 million to help you get elected. You get elected. Man, that company, they did right by me. They got me elected. And it could be completely not intentional. But you're thinking, man, they really... it's how... Take it on a low level. You go get a frickin' sub from Drex. The person's nicer. The food's aight. But they treat you right. They treat you like a human being. Then the next time you go to Subway, they treat you like garbage. They're rude, don't talk. You're more likely to go to Drex. Why? Because they've done something for you.
They rubbed your back.
Yeah. And that's all it takes.
You're going to rub theirs back.
We humans are simple monkeys.
We are. We're just so simple, chimps.
Well, I think that was a pretty good politicking episode.
Now that we blew out everybody's eardrums with your involuntary clapping, you know what you did? You gave their ears the clap. Wow. And now I've given
That's
you
how we're
all of my plague
That's
because
how
it's
we're
the same day as the last time we recorded. Got him.
That's
Later.
Bye.